Hey guys, hope you're doing well. This year on the Great Plains Tour 2021 trip, I decided to try and make a movie about our time together rather than just capture it in photos. Well, after a few short months, I think I have my first video ready for viewing. Be gentle, folks. It's a beginner's best, even in the softest of terms. We'll start off with July 3rd. Most of us were traveling through Iowa on our way to meet up with the legendary painter and his son Ryan in Mitchell, South Dakota. For our first stop today, Larry took us along some back roads to Dexfield Park. Although Dexfield Park closed as an amusement park during the Great Depression, people still stayed at the campgrounds even after it was abandoned. The most famous of campers were the Barrow Gang. If you missed where the park was located, it's tucked away on a large open field here to the left. You might remember that the Barrow Gang included Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow, along with Clyde's older brother Marvin, known as Buck Barrow, and Buck's wife Blanche. The gang also included W.D. Jones, Henry Methvin, Raymond Hamilton, Joe Palmer, Ralph Futz, and S.J. Watley. If we go back to July of 1933, the Barrow Gang had stopped at Dexfield Park to recover from a shootout in Missouri with authorities. It was actually their bloody bandages that caught the eye of local citizens who quickly figured out that the campers were actually the Barrow Gang. It wasn't long after the Barrow Gang was surrounded by local lawmen and what some report to be nearly 100 spectators. Luckily, Clyde and Bonnie, W.D. Jones, escaped by stealing a car from a neighbor and getting away. But during the shootout, Buck was shot again, this time in the back, which ultimately led to Buck and Blanche being captured by officers. It was only 5 days earlier that Buck was shot in the head by Captain William Baxter of the Missouri Highway Patrol during the shootout at the Red Crown Tourist Court in Platte City, Missouri. Rumor has it that the bullet opened up a large hole in Buck's forehead that exposed his brain and caused severe blood loss. His wife Blanche was also wounded in that same gunfight. It was another 5 days after the shootout at Dexfield Park that Buck died on July 29th at the King's Daughter Hospital in Perry, Iowa. But he didn't die of the gunshot wound to his head, nor of the ones he sustained to his back during the shootout at Dexfield Park, but rather he died of pneumonia that he caught after surgery. 120 years ago, many roads were in horrible shape. They were so bad in Iowa that not only were they getting a bad reputation, but Iowa roads literally became impassable for weeks at a time due to snow and mud. It made it impossible for farmers to get their products to the nearest rail station, and it slowed and even halted U.S. mail service at times. To solve the problem, Governor B.F. Carroll called for what was to be known as the Good Roads Convention in Des Moines in March of 1910. Delegates from all over the state attended, but it was decided that a well-constructed and cared-for road from river to river, from Davenport to Council Bluffs, is what was needed. They hoped it would help change Iowa's reputation, especially as the popular of the automobile was taking off. To accomplish the monumental task and make history, they even set a record in road building. 10,000 farmers came together to build a 380-mile road of existing dirt road in 1 hour flat. Not even a single farmer got a penny for that service. The original White Pole Road was designated in 1910 and followed along the Chicago, Rock Island, and Pacific Railroad from Des Moines to Council Bluffs. The White Pole Road was not funded by the state, and it would end up that the people had to maintain or drag the road with their king drags in order to grow their communities. In case you're not familiar, a king drag was an implement for constructing and maintaining roads and was invented by David Ward King, who went by D. Ward King. The king drag really started out as just two parallel logs with a cut side facing the front and separated by 3 feet of rigid separators, and it was pulled by a team of 2 or 3 horses. Knowing that more travelers you could get to take the White Pole Road, the more business you would get in your town, and the more your town would stay on a map, the poles along the road were painted white so that auto tourists could be encouraged to travel the Great White Way. Let's jump ahead. In 1926, the Great White Way Highway, which merged with the river-to-river primary number 7 highway, was changed to U.S. Highway 32. In 1931, sections of the White Pole Road officially became a part of the U.S. Highway 6, which at one point was the longest continuous east-west route in the U.S., stretching from Cape Cod, Massachusetts, all the way to Long Beach, California. In 1947, Iowa joined other states in officially designating U.S. 6 as a named Grand Army of the Republic Highway at the urging of an association of Union veterans of the Civil War. In 1965, Interstate 80 was completed and the popularity of the highway diminished. In 1980, the section of the highway was renumbered 925, and now parts of I-80 have been declared US 6 in order to save on federal transportation costs. In 2003, State Highway 925 was given to the area counties and what was officially renamed the White Pole Road, so once again, it's up to the people to maintain the road to grow their communities. Paying it forward. It's what we all try and do. Painter's been a great example of giving to help another without any expectation or reciprocation in return. Just when Chad and Becky were ready to throw in the towel after their alpha variable exhaust had broken open, making the sound of driving nearly unbearable, in stepped Painter's posse. Brainstorming on how to fix the problem went so far away from home with businesses closed for the long holiday weekend, lo and behold, Painter, Brent, Durr, and Chad came up with a plan. A quick trip for some parts, some handy tools, and some even handier guys, and the exhaust gets pulled and hose clamped down. To be honest, I don't think anyone was surprised when it held up for the entire trip. Huge thank you to the handy guys that were able to get it fixed and keep smiles on Chad and Becky's faces. Our last stop for July 3rd has us in Mitchell, South Dakota, at the world's only Corn Palace. It's Mitchell's premier tourist attraction, and some 500,000 tourists come from around the nation every year to see the uniquely designed corn murals. In the late 19th century, a number of cities on the Great Plains constructed crop palaces to promote themselves and their products. As the idea succeeded, it spread, and from 1887 to 1930, at least 34 corn palaces were built across the Midwestern United States. But since then, only the Mitchell Corn Palace has remained intact. The palace has been redecorated every year with naturally colored corn, along with other grains and native grasses. They currently use 12 different shades of corn to decorate the corn palace. Red, brown, black, blue, white, orange, calico, and yellow, and now they even have green corn. A different theme is chosen each year, and the murals are designed to reflect that theme. Year by year, the corn is nailed to the corn palace to create the scene. The exterior corn murals are replaced and redesigned each year with a new theme that are designed by local artists. The decorating process usually starts in late May with the removal of rye and dock. Dock is the intentional removal of part of an animal's tail or sometimes ear. The term cropping is more commonly used to refer to the cropping of ears, while docking is more commonly, but not exclusively, refers to the cutting off of the tail. The artist's drawings are transformed to black tar paper, labeled with codes corresponding to colors, providing really a corn by numbers pattern showing where each colored cob should be nailed. So then the cobs are split in two lengthwise and nailed to the exterior of the building using approximately 1.5 million nails and over 325,000 ears of corn. In 2018, it was estimated that $175,000 was the cost to decorate the palace each time. All right, that wraps up our trip for July 3rd. I'll talk to you again soon as we celebrate the 4th of July on the road with great friends, really family. We'll talk soon. Thanks, guys.
I've been down so long that my mind can't get no rest. No, this ain't easy, darling, 'cause the devil's on my trail.